Okay, so good Shavua Tov, good morning. We're in the middle of the Maimer Kuntres U'Maayan. We're on page 147. We're about to start the second chapter, but let's learn the Kitzer to refresh our memory. You have it, yes, Hillel? Koiches pnimim mislapshim bekelim protim. When you talk about inner koiches, like seichel and midos, they have a particular home, a particular place. We call that kelim, vessels. Protim, individual one. Uvoyim b'ishtalshelus uvoyim b'ishtalshelus. And the way they come to fruition is through the procedure called hishtalshelus, the progressive descent of the Or Ein Sof through tzimtzumim. Depending on each world it gets into and the particulars there's another tzimtzum. We call that ishtalshelus. The koyach harishin. What's the first koyach of all this? Is koyach ha-chochma, is the koyach of chochma, wisdom. Whereas, conversely, koyach ha-ratzon, the willpower, hu koyach makif, it's an encompassing koyach, shenimtza b'chol ha'evorim, which is found equally throughout all limbs, ve'ena ba b'ishtalshelus, and it doesn't come in a manner of ishtalshelus. So here's this two details. One is it's b'chol ha'evorim, and number two, ve'ena ba b'ishtalshelus. Whereas koiches pnimiyim is not b'chol ha'evorim, and it does come b'ishtalshelus. So that, that's a short, brief difference to think about. Lochein, therefore, pu'ulas ha-seichel ba b'hisaskus. Therefore, the activity of seichel involves in order for seichel to do its job, it requires involvement, hisatzkut. V'nimshach shi'asman, and therefore it takes a while for it to come from the logic, from the intelligence, from seichel, from the moach, to whatever the seichel is investing itself in. Conversely, upulas haratzon, the impact of ratzon when willpower is active. Beli saskus, it doesn't take any involvement. Ubeli shiasman, it takes no time. It's like automatic. So these are the two differences between ratzon and koiches pnimiyim, and this is a universal inyan and issue in Hasidus Chabad. Perik Beis. So the Rebbe now figures we understand this here, how it functions on earth. So now he goes back and he says, let's look at the same concepts in heavenly terms. The essence filas datzilas hein pchinas islapshus oides bekelim. When we talk about the 10 spheres of Atzilus, over there we have what the investment, the islapshut of the energies, the auras, the lights, bekelim in vessels, Fereshison, and the first of which is Spheres HaChochma, is the sphere of Chochma, wisdom. Kreis, Reishis, and we call it the Reishis, the beginning, the first, Lefishi Reishis Ishtalshus, because the first, it's the beginning of Ishtalshus. That's the first place, Hillel, where we have the Or Ein Sof confronting and dealing with an issue that requires a tzimtzum of sort. In other words,
this is the beginning of Reishis Chachma.
That's right. That's correct.
Yeah.
Spheres HaChochma mishtalshel is Spheres HaBina. And from there, it's mishtalshel, it progresses downward towards Spheres HaBina. The Keshem, Shehu B'Koiches HaNefesh, just as we said earlier regarding the powers of the soul. Asher Nekudas HaChochma Mi'ira B'Hasoga Debina, that the Nekuda, the quintessential idea, the Nekuda, illuminates Chochma, that's what Chochma is, Hillel. The idea, the point. That's, according to the way Chassidus Chabad understands Chochma, that's what Chochma is. But, so, yet, this Nekuda, for it to be realized, it requires Bahasaga de Bina, the comprehension, or I like the word, the analysis of Bina. In order for the idea to be realized, it needs Hasaga de Bina. Ubina he, and what is Bina? Eim HaMa'abanim, the mother of the children. Shomolidas Amidos. From Bina comes about emotions. So we have Chochma, we have Bina, and what we have is Midos. He doesn't talk here right about Das right now. At least at this point. So too in spiritual terms, from Chochma there is Hishtalshalos to Bina, Umin HaMoichin El HaMidos, and from Moichin to Midos. So just like we said, it's true in the paradigm of the difference between the willpower in a person and the intelligent power, as we discussed last time and today in the Kitzur, so too in spiritual realms there is the same type of procedure. And it takes time for it to go from Chochma to Bina, because it's a Hishtalshalus experience. You can't jump. And like I told you last time, those that jump are confused. That's where you get mistakes. And sometimes very big mistakes is because you haven't truly processed the Chochma in the Bina. You went kind of straight from Chochma to Midos. Well, guess what? It doesn't work that way. And that's what you have. There could be a genius who's so creative, and if you try to apply that idea to Midos, it could be an explosion or a disaster, or you lose your investment. But it's such a great idea. I'm going to make so much money on it. Everyone's going to be into it and all that. My friend, you didn't go through the process of Bina. You didn't, and for that, it could be you need other people to be the Bina people. And a good corporation and a good company delegates people who are strong in Chachma, people who are strong in Bina, and people who are strong in marketing, in Midos, kind of. That's the marketing. And without that, you have a failure. Okay? If not today, tomorrow. Not tomorrow, the next day. But it's going to happen. Let's continue. Says the Rebbe Rashab, and all of this process, Chochma to Bina and Bina to Midos, and that whole development is what we call the investment, the enclothing of oros, of the energies into the vessels. So now, if someone you're at a fabrengen or you're at a shir, and someone says the slapshes of oros and kalim, right then, what the light should go off in your mind. This is what we're learning here, and this is what it means. It means the particular investment in a methodical way between the idea, the germ, the kudah, oros, bekalim. Okay, that's a generality, but it's a good generality to keep in mind, at least as a guide. So Moshe was talking about making guides. This would be a guide. It's not a guide in this. It is actually, if you talk about the Mittler Rebbe Svarim, they're very much ba'arichos. They're very, very much lengthy pages upon pages. One page of the Alter Rebbe could be 5 pages of the Mittler Rebbe. The same mimer, the same idea, but the Mittler Rebbe expands. That's why the Mittler Rebbe is called Chachmas Rechovas Hanar, like the expansion of a river. We'll talk about it, Hashem, when this month we'll have quite a few Fabrengens. Maybe each week of Kislev we'll do one of these Fabrengens discussions, and we'll tackle some of what you guys wanted to know about. But going back to what we're learning over here is that this whole process So you could learn the Alter Rebbe's Maimon Likutei Torah, a Torah, or even Tanya, and without really learning more about it in depth, either in the Mittler Rebbe Svarim or the Rashab Svarim, you might not understand. You might not be understanding it well. And the Hasidim of old, not even the Hasidim who really understand Chassidus well, like Rabbi Yoel Kahn and my teachers and people like that, they spent a lot of time learning the Mittler Rebbe's Chassidus and the Rashab's Chassidus. So we are closer to the Rashab's time. So in yeshiva, we learned the Rashab's Chassidus more. The Hasidim back in Russia in the late 1800s, and even in the Rashab's yeshiva, they would learn the Mittler Rebbe's Chassidus. In addition to the Maimon that the Rebbe said, that Shabbos, the Rashab, which they learned, but they're like, you could say it was like Be'iyun, what they call Legirsa and Iyun in the world of Gemara, Talmud, in the yeshiva world. There is a Masechta, there is a tract in the Talmud that you learn Be'iyun in depth. You go much slower, and that's where you really, get to the way, you get to the depth and the inside. And then there is covering ground. We call that either Bekios, to become a bucky in a lot of information, an expert, just rattling off pages of Gemara and, knowing Gemara and Rashi. Or Legirsa, same idea, Bekios and Legirsa. So you could say that, without learning the Mittler Rebbe's Chassidus or the Rashab's Chassidus, the learning of Chassidus would be more like Legirsa. In Legirsa doesn't mean you don't understand what you're saying. You understand, but, to spend the time for the analysis and that type of thinking, that was not done. And this even came, we saw this here in America, where there were older Hasidim who, when they learned Chassidus, they just read the words and translated the words and understood the words and nothing really more. And to them, they would get a high from that because it's the words of the Rebbe, of the Alter Rebbe, this Rebbe, that Rebbe. That's enough. The pilpling back and forth and that whole style to them was actually incredulous. It was right. It was not like kosher. That's not Chassidus. That's philosophy, and Chassidus is not philosophy. But the Rashab already changed that. Like I told you 1 second, the Rashab changed it in Kuntres U'Maayan, in the Kuntres that he wrote about the importance of learning Chassidus. I think it was 1904 when he published it. There he says, no, we have to learn Chassidus the way we learn Gemara, in depth. So he made a whole revolution in the world of Chabad, how to learn Chassidus. And it took a long time for his Chassidim to get it and to follow. And our Rebbe, his Maimorim are heavily based on the Rashab and the Mittler Rebbe, and his approach is even, it's a different approach, his Maimorim, because he's not so elaborate, but yet it's encapsulated in the brief words and references and Mara Mekaymis. So I personally find that much harder, because to really understand a Maimer of the Rebbe, you really, really have to know the Rashab's Chassidus, and the Balatanya's Likutei Torah and Torah. Rabbi Nissen Mendel, who translated the Siddur, told me himself that he had once Yechidus with the Rebbe, and he asked the Rebbe, what should he learn? And the Rebbe said, I don't know the exact lashon, but something like it, like, do like me. Learn Likutei Torah and Torah Oyer. And to learn that and learned it. I think he told them 7 times. I don't recall. It's in my book, Conversations with the Rebbe. I interviewed Nissim Mendel, and I think it's in that interview. But he told me, Rebbe Mendel, that he spent hours and hours and hours learning Likutei Torah and Torah. So the Rebbe says, that's what I do. No, and then he says a Maimer Chasidus, which, is not just repeating words of the Alter Rebbe, it's repeating words with the explanations and interpretations over 6 centuries from the Alter, 6 Rebbes from the Alter Rebbe through the previous Rebbe. And he gives and he gives it out and he explains it in his own oisius, in own words. So you have to be really know, because you could say the words and think and that's why the Mara Mekaymis in the 6 volumes of Sefer HaMaimorim Melukit, if you've learned such a Sefer of the Rebbe, has a tremendous amount of Mara Mekaymis. So that's it. Yes, Moshe.
The names that comes up a lot is Rav Shlomo Chaim Kesselman. Obviously, if question, did he have a kesher with the Rebbe Rashab? Was he in that?
Of course, he came to Lubavitch, I think, in 1909. He started learning in Lubavitch Yeshiva in 1909. He's a Talmud of the Rebbe Rashab for sure. And in fact, that was really his Rebbe. And the previous Rebbe was a successor in Avodah, in self-sacrifice. But his years of learning Chassidus was by Rashab, sure. Okay. Let's continue. Good morning, Yonis, and nice to see you. So let's continue now. Perek Beis. No, we just said where we hold. Oh, second paragraph, page 147. Avo, we started already Perek Beis on page 147, and now we're at the second paragraph of Perek Beis. Avo loyren sov shelamaylam ishtal shalus, but oirin sov, the infinite light of Hashem that transcends hishtal shalus, hu p'chinas oir makif. By nature, it's an encompassing energy. She'eina mislabish b'kelim klal. It doesn't invest itself in kelim at all. In other words, it's not interested in being contained. I think we could relate to this. Some people are very comfortable and seek by nature to be in what we call in Hebrew, tell me if I have the right Hebrew word, Chevra, a misgeret. 7 is Mincha, 7:30 is Ma'ariv, supper is this time, 9 to 5. The Mizgeres works very well for some. There are others that by nature, they shut down if they're in that environment. This is the difference between Yonason, Koiches Pnimiyim and Koiches Makifim. Koiches Pnimiyim, the inner kochos, like Seichel and Midas Hillel, they're very happy to find themselves a home. And they know when they find themselves a home, this is my place and this is not my place. And if I keep to my place and I beautify my place and then invite others into my place, I feel great.